Well, there's a new Final Fantasy game coming out in about a month's time, and you'd think the internet would be going wild about it. This time is different though, because a lot of people seem oblivious to its existence or otherwise distracted by Final Fantasy XVI looming on the horizon. This game is not a mainline entry. Instead, it is a spin-off that acts as a what-if scenario surrounding elements of the original Final Fantasy. The game's development is headed up by Team Ninja, who Square Enix was keen to work with on the project, given the former's extensive knowledge of action games. The game's concept came from none other than Tetsuya Nomura, who combined multiple ideas to form the basis of the game's foundation. Though the final story was written by Kazushige Nojima, apologies if I mispronounced the name, the goal behind the project seems to be about bringing the story together with a dark fantasy twist. Even though the developers have stated that at its core this is definitely a Final Fantasy game. Personally, after games like Final Fantasy Type 0, I'm looking forward to having more spin-off titles, because guess what? I love the franchise's mainline entries, but the potential of Final Fantasy as a franchise and all the possibilities that it can create have always made me eager to see Square take chances with titles like this one. This game looks equal parts bizarre, cool, intriguing, and even to some extent emotional. The combat seems pretty good, and I played the second demo, and it felt pretty good to play. In my mind, it incorporated classical features like a job system into the game with some solid execution. Above all else, it made me like it, despite feeling vastly different than what we normally get from a Final Fantasy title. Perhaps, considering what this game is trying to do, that's a good thing. Certainly, it shows some progress on the part of Square Enix to take risks in areas where normally they aren't prone to do so. I don't even want to imagine how many cool ideas have been left behind in the wake of Square's mistakes. But let's just rejoice that any spin-off game got greenlit, period. Look, a lot of companies seem to be unable to grasp the concept of having mainline franchise entries that satisfy the traditional market demands for that particular franchise. Then, in addition, having other teams work on more experimental projects that allow devs a chance to flesh out some really crazy or bizarre ideas that just might be good. I don't know about anyone else, but when I watched the latest Stranger of Paradise trailer, I saw something that resembles Final Fantasy, but is clearly treading its own path. It isn't afraid of bringing something new to the table, but clearly it will certainly borrow a lot from Team Ninja's strengths as an action game developer. Despite this, it feels somehow original, fresh, and weirdly vibrant amidst a market dominated by safe and predictable games. Yes, this game might be bad after it comes out, but it could also be surprisingly great. I want Square to take chances with Final Fantasy. We know they are willing to make moves in the mobile space because of how lucrative mobile games have become, but when it comes to pulling the trigger on bigger projects, they usually pull back. That's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this project, and I can't wait to dive in to this more experimental Final Fantasy, one that isn't bound by the limits of a larger mainline title. I will be lining up to play this game on day one, and can't wait to get into it and start playing through this dark, twisted version of the original Final Fantasy's world. For that matter, I can't wait to see what becomes of Jack, Ash, Jed, Princess Sarah, Neon, and Sophia as the narrative unfolds. More than that, I'm excited to see what future spin-offs might arise from the franchise should this game find success. That's one reason why I hope it's good, and that others enjoy it. Clearly, it won't get the hype that Final Fantasy Remake Part 2 or Final Fantasy XVI get, but I hope the fanbase can embrace this opportunity to try something different. At any rate, we'll have to wait and see how everything unfolds. Be sure to let me know what you all think in the comments down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I ask that you consider subscribing, liking the video, and hitting the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any new videos as soon as they drop. Thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and have a great day.